I'll brief you about what all is going to happen today. Okay? Respected management and staff to this esteemed institute, friends and well-wishers, on behalf of Knowledge Credits, it's my present privilege to extend a hearty welcome to each and every one of you for this informative seminar. Knowledge Credits provide a professional platform to everyone who seeks knowledge and those who are willing to share it. Thus, there is a scope for everyone in this seminar. It is pleasant to see all of you who have shown a keen interest in this seminar with the view of taking home wonderful experience and equip yourself with current knowledge. Sincere welcome to all of you. I am glad to share a few thoughts about Knowledge Credits. It is not a training company. It is unbiased while doing career counseling, and you can be certain of a right guidance through Knowledge Credits. We provide an avenue for the providers to host their expertise and receivers to avail the best services. We are up to date with the market information and always stand to provide credible knowledge to the seekers. We are accessible to all who seek us. It is our dream and aspiration that we continue to act as a bridge between the seekers and the providers of knowledge. I believe today's seminar would be beneficial for all of you present here. Once again, on behalf of Knowledge Credits, I extend a warm welcome to all of you. Wish you all a great learning experience. Welcome one and all. I would just like to brief you about what is going to happen today. Before we commence, let me brief you the agenda for the day. Our CEO and founder director of Theology Management Services and also the product manager of Knowledge Credit, Mr. Chandresh Adhia, will talk to us on career options in IT, tips and techniques of interview tips and techniques and CV writing skills. This will be followed by a question-answer session. I request all of you to actively participate by way of contributing your thoughts and questions. May I now invite Mr. Chandresh Adhia to address the gathering and share your insights. Let us join our hands to welcome Mr. Adhia.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for joining. I don't know whether this agenda which is read out was known to everyone before, or it is just you thought that there is something happening and let's join in. I mean, is everyone here with a purpose, or is everyone here just because there is something happening? Instead of sitting in the class, let's go and see what's that. So, is everyone aware what is this? What is the agenda for today? Okay, I'll ask a couple of them what is the agenda today, and I'll check whether they know what is the agenda. So, are you aware of what is the agenda? What is the agenda?
Provide knowledge what to do in future.
So, yes. So, people who are here, are they from BCom or BSc or which stream are we from? BCA. All of you are from BCA? BCS. BCom. Okay, so okay, hold up. Before I start my talk, I want to tailor my talk based on the kind of people who are here, not just. Otherwise, I will talk about something which some people don't understand. Okay, so maybe please. I want to know how many people are from BCA or BSc computers here. Please raise their hand. BCA or BSc computers. Okay. How many of you are from BCom here? And other fields like MCS and so so I see quite a few number of people from computer science background here. I mean majority I would say, and there are some who are not from computer science background. I would basically like to say that the IT field, I mean, because the seminar topic is careers in IT, your resume writing skills and interview techniques. So this is what the seminar topic is. First part, which is careers in IT, is more relevant and applicable to people mostly from computer science background, and also maybe some people from BCom who probably want to build their careers in IT. It is a wrong notion that careers in IT are only for people from computer science background. I mean, careers in IT is for everyone who has the right skills and right capability and right knowledge. I have seen even undergraduates who have not completed their graduation having a good position in IT. And I have shared this in my earlier presentations. I know one of the very good companies where there was one person who had not finished his graduation. And that doesn't mean you don't have to do your graduation. Okay? That means everyone has to do graduation. It is an exception. I mean, that is an exception. But that exception proves that that careers in IT is not restricted by specific education qualification. Of course, some specific education qualifications have an upper hand and they have a benefit over others because they have a specific chosen career into a particular stream. So and the education. So there was a person who was not graduate and he was working with the company, and somehow because of his skills and capabilities, the person has reached to a level, he became a project manager in the organization where there's a big team working with him. And it's one of the big companies, I mean not a small one. Then there was some HR policy or rule which was again discussed that okay, as per HR policy, we only want graduates in our company. So that person was given a notice to complete the graduation in a year's time or something along with the job or leave the company. So the person tried, I mean, because with the job, finishing his graduation, he was doing some engineering. He could not do that, and he could not finish his graduation. So company then was in fix because HR policy says that you need a graduate in the company, and this person is not a graduate, but he is a project manager on a very important project, which is multi-million-dollar project. And he already knows the client well, he already knows the system and processes well. He has great skills. What do we do? I mean, do we ask him to go, or do we create an exception by taking approval from a board of director and others? And probably there was a dilemma going on, and their managers and others were still discussing and brainstorming. The person himself resigned from a company. And everyone was surprised. Oh, why? And shocked rather. He is not a graduate and he is resigning. Who will give him a job? So it happened that people didn't know where the person went, right? And after a few months, after 6 months, it was realized that the client for whom he was working, so this company, which is an Indian IT company, forced him to complete his graduation or was pressurizing him, and when he could not complete, was probably on the verge of kicking him out of the company because he could not complete the graduation. And the other company for whom he was as a project manager and not on the project for the other company, that company recruited him, saying that we cannot afford to lose you. Your company may do anything because of their HR policies, but we cannot afford to lose you because you know our systems, process, you have a skill and knowledge about what our IT works, how it works. we cannot let you go. I mean, your company may kick you out or may throw you out, but for us, you are a very important person. So we will recruit you, we will pay you more than what your company is offering. So the reason why I say this is because I want you, all of you, to know the importance of skills and knowledge rather than just a plain degree that you hold. Or no degree that you hold. Irrespective of whether you have a graduation, post-graduation, no graduation in the example which I told you, and this is real story. I mean, this has happened not more than a year ago. I mean, this is last 1 year story which I am telling you. Because that person had come to discuss with me also that what should I do next. And I said, don't worry, if you have skill and knowledge, there will be a solution, company will retain you. That is what my thought was, that whether you have a right kind of skills, or whether you have a graduation or no graduation, if you have right skills, company will retain you because company wants the work done. That is what is more important, right? But contrary to my expectations, there was a pressure built up and probably he had to resign. Maybe he already had got an offer from the parent company or the client itself, and that's why he resigned. So whatever. So prime focus should be skill and knowledge that you want to acquire. And there is need for lot of people in IT, and this need is going to grow. There is a survey which has said that lot of people have graduation or they have a degree, but they don't have the right skills and right knowledge to get the particular job. Second, also another point is people, when they go for a first job, they are so hell-bent on a particular salary rather than the job. So my sincere advice to all of you who are looking for a job is to focus on knowledge and skill through the job. I mean, not that you have to go and attend a particular training or go and do a particular certification or something, not that. What you have to do is decide what you want to do, what career you want to build, and find a job in that career or work in that field. And that job may be low paying, high paying, it really doesn't matter. Because the first 2 years of your career is anyway a learning experience. So whether your focus is learning or earning is what you have to decide in the first 2 years. If you try to say, oh, for such a less salary, why should I join a job? What you would end up doing is maybe not take a job, but waste your time in trying to do something which doesn't add value to your profile anyway. You might be lured into doing something which probably is not what you wanted to achieve in the first place. Because when you are free, the free mind is devil's advocate. You know that, right? Don't give your mind free after your graduation. Irrespective of what kind of job, first is what do you want to do? That is very important. Do you have a plan in place for your own career? And careers in IT, there are a lot of areas where job requirement is. I mean, it is not, people feel that software development is the only job in IT. I don't know how many of you know that there are so many different roles in IT beyond just the software development. Back-end system support, to the programming, to the analysis, to the project management, and a lot of other things. So I would break the careers. First I will talk about what are the career options in IT. My presentation is not working, but I will put it on board so that you can understand and you can figure out what you want to do. So there is something called core, and there is something called supporting careers in IT. So when I say core, it is the core of IT works on 7 layers of networking. How many of you remember? All of people from computer science do they remember? Yeah, what are those? Yeah? What are the other layers? Yeah? Physical? Data link? Network? Transport? How many are this? Application layer? Yes. Wonderful. So there is a career in each one of this layer. So your careers in IT span across core into all of this layer. The physical layer where your physical components of systems exist, which includes your hardware, data center, your other components, right? So physical infrastructure, or it is called IT infrastructure layer, where you have a core IT infrastructure. So the services that you use, the application that you use, requires a physical systems on which this is implemented. And then it comes to you as an application. Right? So for every application to run, you require a physical infrastructure. And then there is a network layer. I mean, there is in network also, there are a lot of networking basically areas. You have a data center networks, and you have a WAN networks, and you have a LAN networks, right? So all this infrastructure is at a data center level, and then you have a WAN network, which is wide area network, and then you have a LAN network which connects you probably to a particular system, right? And then you have a programming expertise, or I would say middleware and system management, which works here. Middleware and systems management, which works here. And then you have a presentation and application layer. So application design, development, management, all this comes here. Design, development, etc. And so this is a broad. So your careers are spread across all the 7 layers of networks or networking, and there are a lot of other careers. So so for any system or any component to work properly, so there are careers in design of it, design, development, testing, and support. These are the 4 broad categories for all of these areas. So there are 7 into 4, 28 different options for you to build your career into, and this is going to progress over the period of time. So people who do not have lot of in-depth skills or experience, they probably will get into support and maintenance kind of job. Okay. People who have probably little more knowledge, they understand how the system works, maybe more business understanding, they will get into testing, and then development, and then design. So design generally will not come to people like who are fresh out of the college, because design requires experience, and design career in IT requires you to go through a lot of failures first. I mean, when you build a bad application or when you build a bad system, then you come to know what not to do in the system. So failures teach you more, and that is what helps you to be in design. But that doesn't mean freshers cannot get into design. If you have done something, you have learned a lot about it, and you have spent a lot of time in understanding various frameworks and systems. For example, there is something called in the architecture, right? I mean, architecture is not the building architecture, but the systems architecture. So there is a career in systems architecture, and if you probably have built a skills and knowledge related to systems architecture, maybe it will help, and maybe you will get into design role faster than others, or maybe as a fresher also in the smaller companies, they would be ready to get you into design, not the bigger ones. So bigger companies will have their own stringent norms, policies, rules. Okay, this is undergoing a massive change now with the technology changing. So technology from a traditional way of managing databases. So you have a database systems. So database administration and database as a back end. So there is this database related careers here, which probably support and present all the data. And now there is something, a new trend of NoSQL database, which is beyond the typical RDBMS. And this all is moving into cloud now. And when I say cloud, everything was on cloud, but now cloud has a different meaning, where you are saying that it is into distributed systems rather than the centralized systems. And something like what Google is capable of doing, right? I mean, Google, when it started, it did not require very costly servers to start its systems, but they used the commodity hardware. When I say commodity hardware, your desktop level of a system. And they connected all those systems together, and the processing was happening on different systems, not on a single very big powerful machine, which is costly. Okay, and this gives the requirement for a new type of technology like cloud and distributed database management system and other things, right? So there are specific tools and systems which are there required for cloud as a technology, or cloud as a platform. It is not just making it available on the internet, but it is beyond that. Yeah, and it will require a lot of expertise and knowledge about how systems work in the back end and how they can be basically implemented. So mobility and cloud are the two big things. But this requires a basic system. You cannot bypass the basic system. You cannot bypass a basic infrastructure. You cannot bypass the data links. You cannot bypass the network layer. You cannot bypass database systems. I mean, database may change its form from RDBS system to it will go into a NoSQL database, or where it's probably stored in a flat file kind of systems rather than into a structured database, right? So those are things, and then mobility and cloud too, and there is exponential growth happening in those areas. So those are career options as a core. This is a core, and now there are a lot of supporting roles that this entire system requires. This is called business analysis as a career, where you understand the business logic and probably try to convert it into a requirement specification. Okay, business analysis. Then you have project management roles. Then you have service management roles. You have a product management role, etc. So these are all management specific roles. And when I say this support and maintenance, this is something where the careers would be mostly from it is a career in IT, but it may not require a specific certification or degree in IT. Generally for support, companies are okay to have people even from non-IT fields, right? Even for some of these areas like business analysis, project management, and other areas, non-IT field people are okay basically, but they need to have experience, and they should be able to do analysis as well. So there is a business analysis, and then there is systems analysis, which is more technical role, which is there. So there are a lot of things required as a IT to run, okay? And there are huge number of careers. The biggest challenge which companies are facing today is they are not getting the right skilled people in the right job. So even the campus recruits, so what these companies do is they recruit you and they put you into a 6 months or 1 year in-house training program, because they feel that you don't have the right skills to really go and do a particular job. Okay. So this is good if you get selected in the campus. If you are selected in the campus, the companies who recruit in the campus typically will give you a training onto the area where they feel you have the right skills. Or they will give you trainings on a lot of technologies. lot of different programming language, lot of different database administration skills, lot of different system management skills. And then as and when the project requirement comes, they will put you into a particular project. Okay, so these are some of the things that can be done, right, as a part of as a IT, right? So you will have to choose which careers you want to build, and there's a lot of material available on the internet. I don't have to spend the entire day here talking about what all those options are. We are also going to have a lot of details on knowledge credits. We are populating now this portal. We are ensuring that whatever skills and knowledge people should have, at least they have a basic fundamentals of it here. And we so this portal is going to also point you to the right kind of providers which are there in the industry. I mean, we are not going to go and say, oh, this institute is good, or that institute is good, or you should do this course, or you should do this course. We will not do that. We will rather be unbiased and let you choose and decide what is the right knowledge for you, what is the right skill for you. Do you have sufficient skills? You test yourself, and you decide what you want to do next. And if you get selected in campus, probably you don't need this. Okay? Probably, but that doesn't mean you will not need it. Okay? This portal you will require even after you are out in the job, because in IT there is a constant update of a knowledge that you require. I mean, IT career is something that keeps you student for your life. So you will not believe I wrote a certification exam around 4 months back on architecture and design. I had to. I mean, when I want to work in IT, I cannot say that I will stop my learning. There are new things, like if there is a cloud, I need to understand, and I need to learn, and I need to implement. So IT ensures that you are a student for a life, and that way probably you would need this more often if you build a career in IT. And it will keep you updated on what is happening. Okay, so maybe when you have time, maybe go through it. Though there is no lot of content right now, we are putting a lot of content from industry. We do a lot of events into companies if you want to. So if you go to this portal, there is on top there is Industry Connect. There is one tab. If you go there, you will come to know what all we are doing into companies, so that we come to know what is going on in the companies and what are they expecting and what kind of processes and practices they are following. So we are regularly in touch with all of the companies, and you will be able to see the events which are being done into various companies, what kind of events are happening and other things. So there is a different portal for that, which is our own portal called surethoughts.com. On this portal, if you go knowledgecredits.com, there is Industry Connect. It will take you to a new portal which is related to what's going on in the industry, what kind of practices and what kind of working is going on in the industry. Maybe if you get time, maybe attend one of those industry events. Probably you will get to know people who are working in the industry and what are the careers, and maybe you can interact with them and come to know what kind of jobs are there and what is going on. So there are a lot of events we do which is specific to industry. Those are not for the academics, but maybe when you have time and just walk in and drop in for some time at a venue. So there is a venue published generally where the event is. There are debate contests and there are different things that we could do. Okay, so good. So those are the careers and those are the different choices. So do you have any questions on this so far? Any questions so far? Everyone is clear with the career options which are available? Okay. Good. So let me quickly jump to. So I have this. IT is not just software development, which probably everyone thinks. There's a lot of things other. And as I told you that hardware, operating system, database, cloud solutions, NoSQL database, open source solutions, web development, testing. There are a lot of things. And for non-IT or non-technical experts or people who are from BCom, they have very good career options in SEO, SMO, because a lot of their time goes anyway on the Facebook and other social media. Right? How many of you go to Facebook? So anyway, they spend a lot of time there, and I mean, no offense meant, but they generally are they they don't have probably lab practice as much as maybe BCS people will have, or they will not have maybe journal writing or some submissions as much as they will have. So they generally find a spare time and probably will be more. So, but for them, they have a very good career options, probably in user experience design, probably into marketing, probably into search engine optimization and social media optimization. And there is a lot of demand for that, believe me. I mean, huge potential there, because there are a lot of companies who are building their websites, and it's a mad ocean, right? It's a wide, vast field, and people would search on a Google, and everyone wants to come on the first page of Google. So someone goes and searches, I want to come on the first page of Google. So if someone searches something, so that my website gets visible and customers buy my product. So that is called search engine optimization, right? Or social media optimization, where someone is going on a Facebook, how do I make my brand visible on the Facebook? So it is something which is a IT job. A reason why it falls into the marketing category, but it requires a technical understanding. May not be extremely deep technical programming language, but it requires some basic skill and basic understanding. And those are the very good careers. Maybe the first four is where the non-technical background, non-technical, non-IT background people can build their careers in. And believe me, there is a huge potential there. Okay, probably start looking for what are the SEO kind of or SMO kind of job, and there are a lot of free online tutorials on that. There are a lot of free online guidance available, and you probably don't have to go. And if you start spending 10% or 20% of your time out of Facebook and focus on acquiring a specific skills, probably in 3 years' time when you are into college, you will become expert. Okay, so spend some time. Get something out. There's a lot of free guidance available online, a lot of tools available online to probably build your skills. And if you go to a particular organization and say, you know what, I know what SEO is, I know what social media marketing is, I know how to market and sell your products and services, I can bring your website visible into the market through Google or through others, and these are the techniques and these are the tips. You have impressed the interviewer. You have done already a research, and you already have a skill and experience and knowledge or expertise. And maybe try to do it for free for some of them initially while you are a student or while you are still active. And do it for free. It really doesn't matter. You can go and challenge and say, if you don't come on the first page of the Google, then don't pay me. I am ready to do it for free for you. And how to do it, there are a lot of tutorials already available on internet. If you search YouTube, or there are a lot of things. You go and search and you will get a lot of content. And eventually our aim is to probably link all of those content on knowledge credits. So we have a lot of categories. And we will give you if not the content directly, we will give you references where you can go and find that knowledge and skill. Maybe on YouTube, or maybe on Wikipedia, or maybe somewhere on Coursera.com, or there are a lot of portals available which are free content, and they give you a lot of free knowledge and skills, and you probably start practicing on that. And then whatever you see here are the 4 system design, product management. This requires experience, as I told you, and people from marketing can get in there, and people from technology can get in there. So that field is not restricted to core technology job, because after a particular years of experience, everyone probably gets into a management. Not everyone, but generally people who want to get into management, they get into management. So those are the areas: system design, product management, project management. So there are programming and lot of things there. Okay, so these are the career opportunities that you got in IT, and not only for IT. So there is a core technology and supporting. So I already spoke about that. So I think you all are probably aware of what are career options in IT, right? Okay, let me talk about resume writing. Resume writing skill. Now the first, so when I heard her saying, okay, resume writing or CV writing, so the first question that naturally come to my mind is, do you know the difference between resume, CV, and biodata? Though generically it is okay to use interchangeably. I mean, I can make a mistake and I can probably forget about the difference between three, but you should not forget the difference between the three because someone is going to ask you this question as a fresher because, oh, you don't understand the difference between the three. Though it is not a core knowledge, right? But people want to know whether you are generally aware of the things. So it's not about your subject probably, it's about your general awareness of your knowledge as to do you understand the difference between the three. And so there are resume is a French means summary. It's ideally a summary of one's education skills and employment applying for a new job. It will seldom exceed one side of an A4 sheet and at most two. It's a snapshot of what you are and what you understand, what your skills and knowledge are. Right? So it does not list all the education and curriculum, but only highlight specific skills customized to a target job profile. No one is interested in listening about lot of details that you want to be there, and no one has time really to go through all the details that you put in there. People will look at only the key points, and you make their life easy by keeping it short and focused, rather than getting them lost into a lot of details. Okay, so there is a very good site called Site HR. I am sure if you don't know, maybe make a note of it. It's a good site which keeps giving you HR tips. Okay, so HR is a key decision making into a fresher recruitment. And in the experienced people recruitment, project managers and the product managers and the delivery managers are key decision makers. If you are experienced in a particular technology or domain, HR comes at the end once all the process is done, and then probably some manager will say, okay, we want to recruit this person. This is a package I think which is okay. Just the HR's job is to just ensure that you fit into the company policies. But when you are a fresher, HR is who will decide whether you are in or out. Because they want to know the right attitude, right kind of background, right kind of skills at a fresher level. Learnability is what they look at maximum times. Whether you have a learnability rather than are you expert at a particular field, because they as a fresher they don't expect you to be expert, but learnability is what they will look at. Because when they put you into a training program after recruitment, how fast are you going to learn the skills? And in IT, the speed at which you learn is most crucial than any other skill. And probably also how fast can you do a Google search. Okay, because there is a lot of knowledge available on internet, and if you can get a right knowledge in the shortest possible time, that is a great skill that you got. Right? How fast can you go and find? Lot of developers on companies, do you think that they write entire code themselves? They go search on Google, get some code, copy it, put it, then maybe merge it, and tailor it, fit it, and then put it into their program. So your speed at which you can read, search, right? You can search, read, and comprehend and apply. So that is the basic expertise that you have to bring. Search, read, comprehend, and apply. Can you do that? And if you can do that, you have a good skill. And that is what most of the companies will test you for. Okay, so this is resume, and then you have a curriculum vitae, which is a Latin word meaning course of life. It is more detailed, generally 2 to 3 pages or even longer, as per the requirement. Okay. So fair enough. So and then it will list all the jobs and affiliations and what are your interests and hobbies, and so it's a course of life. It's a life philosophy and your background and other things, right? So that is what this is. Please let me know if I am exceeding my time, and please let me know if I am boring you, please, so that I will stop and cut down on some crap and maybe focus on something good. Okay. So are you getting bored? So let me know if you get bored. I'll stop and maybe I'll crack some jokes. Or maybe dance here for you. Joking. Don't worry. I know it will break this stage. Good. So when you talk about resume or when you talk about CV is more detailed. And when you talk about biodata, avoid using that into professional context because biodata generally is used for marriage purposes. It has more personal details than that is needed for your than it is needed for your job specific details. So if someone asks you why you are writing resume or CV or biodata, why you did not write biodata, probably I didn't want to reveal a lot of personal details. But if you think you are okay to reveal a lot of personal details, then probably use biodata. Doesn't matter. What you put in there doesn't matter as far as you know what you are putting and why you are putting that title there on your resume or CV or biodata or whatever. Okay. Good. So I will talk about a lot of common mistakes people make when they write their profile or resume or CV or I don't say biodata, but resume or CV, right? So there is a lot of data and no information. Do you understand the difference between data and information? So data is a lot of raw details about a lot of things. And information is the processed and crystallized context to that data. So when someone wants to look at it, they want to know the important things quickly. They don't have time to dig and find out the keywords that they are looking for. Okay. So you probably need to understand what is the job that you are applying for, or what is the company you are applying for, and maybe have some tailoring there. Because a lot of companies are very sticky and finicky about what information should go. Or there can probably at a fresher level, at a campus level, it may not matter because a company or you may have a standard one format and you just circulate it to all the companies. Or a lot of times companies will demand a specific format of the information. I don't know whether on the campus you give a standard resume out or you have a specific format company-wise. But company-wise, definitely they have a different requirement and expectations. But all of them have a common requirement. They don't want a lot of data in it. They just want very good quality information in it so that they can quickly look at it and decide whether you have a right kind of skills, attitude, right kind of your academic excellence, right kind of your learnability and capability to excel. So someone scoring 70% in first year, and then scoring 72 in next year, and suddenly scoring only 62 in third year, and probably then going 64 in last year, may not be looked upon as greatly as someone who scored 60 in first year, 65 in second, 68 in third, and 69 in fourth year. So that shows a clear learning progression and growth. Okay. So I mean that is something that you cannot avoid anyway when you are in the final year. The focus should be on how do you present, how do you put those information correctly. Don't use pompous language. I mean, don't use words that you have stolen from someone else or searched on the internet or maybe looked at a dictionary and maybe you will forget yourself. Don't use any pompous or difficult language. I mean, no one is looking at your English skills there. What companies are looking at is what you have done so far, maybe what you have achieved so far, and whether you are going to fit with your attitude and your behavior and your learnability and hunger for knowledge, right? So these are some of the things. If you have right hunger for knowledge, probably you are better off than others. If you get an opportunity to maybe write some blogs or something which is very specific to your subject of interest, or where you want to build a career, or maybe create a presentation, or maybe answer some queries on a professional networks like LinkedIn. I don't know how many of you are on LinkedIn right now, and how many of you, I'm sure everyone would be on Facebook, but how many of you are on LinkedIn? So Facebook is not a professional networking site. It is a personal sharing, and it's more like a personal website rather than a professional website. And if you want to get connected to professionals in the industry, you'll find them more on LinkedIn rather than on Facebook. Okay. And if you have a LinkedIn profile that talks about seriousness of being professional rather than just being a casual person, right? So that is very important, and find out what is happening related to your interest area. There are a lot of groups and discussion forums. Capture the knowledge for that company, or capture the knowledge related to job and present that, or maybe use those keywords in your resume. Right? Don't oversell on resume. Don't try to sell a lot of things. Don't put only realistic things. Don't put something that you can achieve you can probably reach the stars and do whatever you can, or do the best in this. Overselling is not a good idea on resume. If you want to sell yourself, sell it in the interview. Not on the highlight information which doesn't add value to role applied for. If you highlight wrong information, you have wasted the time of the reader of your profile or resume, and that causes a lot of problems for the person who is reading. And copy paste from others, strictly no. Don't do that at all. Even if your English is bad, don't worry about it. Try to see and get those validated by putting it in Word. Maybe put a spell check on the word and correct it, rather than copy and paste from someone else. Because copy paste gets caught very fast than what you can imagine. Okay? Because you can immediately, for the person who is looking at the resume, using templates without understanding it. And don't just go and blindly follow a particular template. It really doesn't matter. As far as your basic interests are presented, I mean career interests. This is a career I want to build. This is the skills and knowledge I have. This is the right attitude and learnability and exposure I have to this particular field. And if you can highlight that, probably you have created an impression. Okay? So avoid those common mistakes. Okay. So are you okay on this? Yes. Fair enough. Okay, so I will not spend a lot of time here. So I will go to the interviews straight. I mean, I have read a lot of resumes where even people have copied the hobbies same and the interest same, and then I start get a feeling that, oh my God, it's all of you, and then if you go to a particular school or a college and a particular institute, and if you are seeing common hobbies of everyone, you are in trouble. I mean, as a person who is reading that, starts feeling, oh, it looks like a copy paste. Or there are friends in the circle and they copy paste each other's sentences and statements, and it gets caught. Okay, so don't do that. Build something unique, maybe what you have, and there are a lot of templates available on Naukri.com and other portals. I mean, there are a lot of things available, and use them, but use them with knowing how are you going to fit it to make it unique for yourself. Template is not for just replication, but for guidance. Okay, so do that. And next is about, so you need any further inputs on resume writing or different things? Please let me know if there is a specific question before I get into the next logical topic.
Have you planned any breaks for them or
So I'm okay, I can speak for a whole day. But for you, I don't know whether you are okay to listen to more than 40 minutes of a typical lecture. Are you in the habit of listening to more than 40 minutes? Anything, even if it is not related to topic and you generically want to ask about career or anything, I am okay. I am not here to just tell you and then run away. Basically, I would like to know if you have any specific doubt or query or question. I would address that. One of the questions which I have faced earlier and the common question which we had when we were in college is, यार first class जरूरी है क्या सभी semester में to apply for a job? Most of the companies who come on the campus, they look out for first class. Most of them. Okay. Not all. I mean, I would say most of them. So there are a lot of eligibility criteria when companies go in for campus recruitment, and you probably will be updated from college as to what are the specific requirements of a particular company or particular thing. By the way, I did not have a first class tour, so anyway I was not hired in the campus, and then I had to look for a job from outside. So that is my scenario, and that time it was very strict to get into IT, and I wanted to be in IT. I was getting other jobs in the campus which I did not opt for, because I was very clear that I wanted to build a career in IT. And probably that, I don't know whether I did the right decision or wrong decision, but probably I feel I have taken the right decision that time. But I was very clear that I want to build a career in this field, and that's why there was jobs which were offered to me which I rejected. And for companies, IT companies, they wanted first class work, and I did not have a first class work. And so I had to move out of campus and find a job, and then I got a job, and then probably I started doing it. So it would be a good idea that you know what companies' eligibility criteria are. But if you are in the final year, you anyway cannot do away with your past. If you don't have a first class, or if you had a backlog in some of the semesters, that doesn't mean your career is ruined. That means that probably you don't get a job in campus, but probably you will get a job outside, but you will have to struggle. You will have to probably take a job which is a low-paying job initially, and then build upon it, or something of that. So it really you will have to plan. That is what it is. Okay. So that any other questions? I mean, any generic questions like this, right? You have any questions like this? No question? Yeah. I got your one question correctly, if I heard it correctly. You are saying, is it good to go for post-graduation first, or first go for a job and then do post-graduation? Which field are you talking of? I mean, so it is just, yeah? Computers? Why do you need a post-graduation?
Like MCA or...
Why do you need a post-graduation? So after BCA, if you go for MCA is a 3-year program. I would rather take a 3 years experience than sit into a 3 years class. I mean, my personal choice. I would rather do a job in the field of my liking, even if it is less paying, rather than sitting and doing a post-graduation just after graduation. Then they need a 4 years education qualification. Without the 4 years educational, graduation or after 4 years, if you don't have an education, then they don't allow you for Master of Science degree in the United States. So probably you are better off to go for MCA. But if your long-term, you can sit down, no problem. So if your long-term aim is to do a particular job and excel at it, probably you don't need a post-graduation. You don't need it because maybe your experience will count more than your degrees or certificates. I told you example when I started my presentation that there was a person who is not a graduate, but he is recruited by a top-notch client. I mean, he's the bank from Europe. It's a top-notch bank, and they recruited him. They didn't look at whether he was a graduate or no graduate. They looked at his experience and skill and what he can contribute to the organization rather than the educational qualification. Especially in IT, if you are looking for a government job, then you better off go for post-graduation. Because in government, the promotions will strictly happen as per your educational qualification. If you want to become a lecturer, probably you only will make you lecturer by just having the BCA qualification. You will probably need an MCA qualification and maybe a PhD later on. So it really would vary based on what you want to do in life. If you want to get into academics, you better acquire as much degrees and certificates and qualifications as you want. Academics, I mean, you want to become a professor or a lecturer or want to get into some university job, you better have a lot of qualifications. But if you are looking for, or if you want to go into MS, you better have 12 plus 4 years qualification. If you want to get into government job, you better have more educational qualification. But if you are looking for private sector jobs, no one really cares. At the end of 5 years, no one really cares. No one even asks you whether you are MBA or which college you did it from. Or after 5 years, this all becomes immaterial. Because after 5 years, even a person from IIM and person from non-reputed MBA institute are at an equal footing, and their measurement is done on the performance and the track record and how they performed in their job, rather than what qualifications did they achieve while they were in academics. The qualification helps you to start. But qualification doesn't help you to grow and excel. The growth and excel, you have to work hard and you have to build the skills and you have to build the capabilities. And that is what matters more in the field. I would need a person who can write a program and a code for me rather than a person who has a PhD in programming. I don't need someone PhD in Java. I want someone who can write a code in Java. Or I need someone who can do a job which is required to be done and delivered. Right? So that is what is more important. Any other question? Good. So if that addresses everyone's queries, that is great. Okay. Then there are interviews. I mean, if you go and sit in the interview blind, don't do that. I mean, if you're lucky, probably there are more than one company is looking for your kind of skills and talent and knowledge, or maybe there are more than 2 companies wanting to recruit you. But if you are not so lucky, maybe one company, and if you are not so lucky then probably no one in the campus is recruiting you. Maybe then later on you will go out and open market and try to get the jobs. Okay, so first step before you go, whether you go on campus or go outside campus for a job, first do a research on the company and the job role for which you are applying for. I've seen a lot of people just walk in and then say, oh, we want a job, and they say, okay. They look at some job profile, some advertisement somewhere which is published and say, this is a job. When I look at the profile or the resume or CV, it has a lot of information which is not related to the position which is open for. For example, we had a requirement for our organization, we had a requirement for UI and UX design people. I mean, we are okay with fresher, but we wanted skills. People who can really do a good user experience design. Okay, and that was the job. And people came with a profile and they had a lot of Java and .NET and a lot of PHP and a lot of programming skills, and that was what was highlighted. And I asked my first question was, do you know what job this is for? Your programming skills don't help you. So you better be aware of what role and what company you are going into, and that company's research. I mean, what are the technologies, and what are the client lists do they have, and what all they do generally. And when you talk about the role, what exactly is this role, and what skills does this role require? Okay. Even your profile or your resume should be built accordingly. It has to be tailored. You cannot have one blanket resume and go and just throw it at every place. Don't do that. Tailor it. That shows a seriousness, your seriousness about the company. Otherwise, company takes you as a casual walk-in visitor who just keeps on visiting. Maybe you go to Hinjwadi or maybe Magarpatta or maybe Talaure and just drop your profiles at each of the companies. Don't do that. That is the biggest mistake you will do, because no one will even look at it. They'll just probably go into a dustbin somewhere, or maybe one of the person will just wipe his desk with that. So don't do that. Okay, and do a research. Find out what role you are for, and beware of latest trends and best practices in the field you are applying for, and probably highlight that in your resume. Okay, so it should talk about you are aware about what's going on in the industry. Maybe active member of LinkedIn forum related to this technology is something which I would like to read in my person whom I am going to recruit. That this is a particular forum which is active. Let's say you're going for something related to cloud development, cloud technologies. Some companies focus on cloud solutions. And you are active member of a cloud community on LinkedIn, forum member, and you are active. So go and read and do a research what kind of terms people use and what kind of challenges organizations are facing, and be ready to answer those and present those. It's okay not to have a practical knowledge, but your awareness and willingness to acquire that knowledge and skill has to be evident from your resume or CV, right? I mean, if that is not evident, then people will say, oh, this is one more person who has given one more profile, and the companies get such in hundreds, okay, and they don't have time to look at everything. They will just briefly, probably someone will sort it out and look at it. Bigger companies generally have a lot of people just, and even don't waste your time in writing a common mail, copy paste, send it to a lot of HR. Will not work. Will not work. No one looks at those mails. Okay. Even if they look at it very rarely, they probably do a filtering in-house. And in the filtering, if you want to get basically known as a important person, probably whom I would like to recruit, then you need those specific things as I mentioned. You need information which shows your research about the company, which shows research about the role that you are applying for. If there is an opening. And maybe your subject line, if you are sending a mail, should be like that. Okay. And then, so this is a broad level tip, right? And read newspaper and online information which can potentially be related to job or the industry. If you have an interview today, in the morning, just go through the newspapers, some online Google search, find out if there is something latest related to this field or this thing, and you have to just certainly probably present that when the opportunity comes in the interview to say you are aware of what is happening in the industry, you know what is latest in the industry, you know what just recently happened related to this field and this job. Okay. It is very, very important, right? I mean, this shows that you are eager, you are serious, you are committed for this particular company and particular job role. Okay. And that makes a difference. And irrespective of whether you get selected or no, don't go with the expectation that I want to get selected. Go with the expectation that I want to create an impression. I don't want to go and just be one more interviewee for the interview. I should stand out and be different and be focused. That is what you have to achieve. Otherwise, Otherwise, you just get lost in the crowd. You don't want to become one more person in the crowd. So do that and present yourself. So this is what is preparation that you do. Okay, what to do in interviews? Sell yourself. Sell yourself means sell your capability. Why you are the best person who can probably do a job here? Why not someone else? What differentiates you from others in the market? Job is a selling job. I mean, when you go into interview, it is you are selling your skills, you are selling your capabilities, you are selling your fitment for the particular role or job. Right? Because you are not the only person who has applied there. There are a lot of others. Right? And focus on how you can add value to the organization. What value can you add? I mean, why they should select you and not someone else? Okay. Be transparent, don't hide facts. Don't try to manipulate, because interviewer is more experienced than you. Probably he has interviewed more than 1,000 people so far, and more than that, thousands of people in his life or her life, and they can catch immediately if you are trying to hide something and you are gone. You might have some bad history, maybe related to academics, maybe related to job, maybe related to experience, maybe related to anything. And if you don't want to present, or if you don't want to speak out about it, if it is personal, then politely say that I would not like to reveal the personal information. My apologies, but I would like to not reveal that. If you don't want to reveal. Personal, you have authority to say you don't want to reveal. But if it is professional, and if you don't want to reveal it, then companies will become a little questioning. You can say what happened, if briefly touch upon if you have a bad history about job. I mean, it doesn't apply to you, of course, because this applies more to the experienced professionals who probably get kicked out of a job once, or maybe company layoff happens, or whatever. There are a lot of things happen in the industry. For example, when Satyam scandal happened, a lot of people left Satyam because of worry. A lot of people were fired from the company. There are a lot of incidents happen. This is one of the examples. There may be a lot of things happening. Okay, so you don't have to hide that. Be transparent, be clear, and if you don't want to go and reveal the information beyond a point, then don't reveal it. And you have a right to say further than that. Maybe I will not be able to reveal it. And I would like not to discuss now. Maybe I will reveal later on if I join and once we probably start. Maybe I will reveal that information later on. But I would not like to reveal those information now. You can politely basically talk about it, or maybe just set it aside politely and talk to the next item, right? Show flexibility, but don't build on fundamental principles. Go with what you will accept and what you will not accept, or what is tolerable. Maybe if you go, for example, when you go for a job, be prepared with what is the minimum level of salary that you are ready to work for. What are the rules that you are okay to have from a company? Have your own preparedness. Okay, that should come in the preparedness of an interview. But you should have that ready with you. That what you are okay to be flexible on, and what you are not okay to be flexible on. And those principles you hold on, right? And those principles that you build, you have to have a very strong logic why you are building those principles. I mean, I will not work below 40,000 per month. Why? I mean, what's that you have got so that you are demanding 40,000 per month, right? And if you say, oh, I will not work below that, that's my principle. That cannot be principle, okay? That is not a principle. I mean, I will not work below this salary. And there has to be logic behind that principle. I mean, something which probably is important, right? Which has a very strong logic to it. Okay, so flexibility, but go with principle. Be confident, but don't overshow it. Even if you are confident, don't overshow it. showing off, boasting, trying to dominate are the bad traits without experience. They are bad traits. I mean, if you are experienced, I mean, being confident is different, and showing off is different. Okay, or don't be dominant. If someone is saying something, also don't cut off. Okay, so those are some of the things that you probably want to do. Okay, what not to do in the interview? So probably I was watching the don't cut the interviewer. So this is something which I wanted to pen down, but could not do that in the morning. So don't cut the interviewer. Probably if you have questions or queries, don't reserve them, hold them, don't jump to the questions or queries. Every interviewer asks you at the end, do you have any questions? Okay. So don't wait for asking a question, make a note of it, keep it in mind, or maybe go with pen or paper, or maybe make a note, it doesn't matter. I mean, no one will stop you from making notes while the interview is happening. But don't cut in between. If someone takes a pause and looks at you like expecting you to speak, then speak. Okay, so body language is what should tell you whether you should speak or not speak. Is the interviewer expecting you to speak or not expecting you to speak? Because there are pauses in between a conversation, and if there is a pause which is long enough, and the person is looking at you with a questioning eyes, or raises eyebrow, what do you say? Then probably you jump in and you say, okay, these are the things which I wanted to clarify. And at the end, you will always get this point saying, do you have any questions or queries, or you want to ask anything? Ask all of it what you want to ask. Okay? And be with, don't ask something which will probably which will demean the position or that role, or demean the organization. Never ask a question which will demean the organization or demean that role. Saying that, oh, this role is, what this role? Can't I get a bigger role? Don't demean that. Okay? So if you demean the role or the organization, then probably you have already spoiled your show. Don't demean anyone. You are not going to demean anyone or demotivate or show something in bad light. Have that done, and go with the list of questions you want to ask prepared, so that you don't like fumbling and not confident about asking questions. Be confident while you ask. And if the interviewer doesn't give you opportunity to ask a question, you have every right to say, can I ask something? At the end. And it's okay to say, can I ask something? Okay. It's okay to say, can I ask something? And the person will say, okay, what? So these are certain things I wanted to clarify before for example, the queries and questions may be related to maybe relocation, travel required, kind of roles you will get, or kind of growth path you will get in that role. Everyone has this question. I mean, will I have to go to other city, country, other locations? Do I have to travel a lot? Does it require me to basically achieve a particular target or something, if it is related to sales or something, or if it is related to career progression? What is my career prospects in future? How does this career grow if I join this role? The problem with lot of the campus recruitments are that you will not know what role you are going to get offered. You will only probably come to know what company. But it is okay to ask, is there any specific role I will get, or I am just getting recruited just like that and will be informed about my role later on. And you can also ask me, what if I don't like that role? If I don't like that job, right? Because I don't know. So maybe beforehand you come to know, ask your seniors or some peers in the industry. There are a lot of forums where you can ask questions related to what kind of roles this company offers when they recruit people from campus. And what all this role entails and what kind of career prospects there. So people who are recruited 5 years back will tell you whether they are happy with that progression or no. Because they are there, they are in that company or that role for 5 years. It should not happen that after 10 years of a career you come to know you made a bad career choice. Okay, that is called midlife crisis, where people repent their decisions done in past and then say, if you had chosen this, I would have been much better rather than chosen this, right? So avoid those. Okay. So I think I would stop here. I will not spend much more time. Maybe we are planning more sessions here later on. Okay. So maybe more sessions will be planned in future and other things will happen, and we will have time to interact and talk, present more. If you have questions, please ask. Please spend some time on reading various portals, and this is going to be one of the portals where you will get a lot of knowledge. On this portal, our aim would be to enable you with the right guidance and skills and knowledge, and also you will get a list of providers, training providers who are giving different trainings, who are specialized, right, into a particular area. If you want to go and talk to them. So any questions or queries? Okay, friends. Experience is really appreciable. How we will catch up from next time.
I won't bore you all with the lecture. I know. Thank you for your patience and listening to sir, and continuing the session for almost like 2 hours. If you all have any doubts, any questions, please get back to us. The best thing that you all can get back to us is knowledge credits. Please register on knowledge credit. It's absolutely free, okay, for all the students. So register on knowledge credit. Try to access like your access Facebook, Google for any searches. So this is one of the knowledge portal. So anything related to your knowledge or job or anything, you can always log on and keep on accessing it. We have a lot of seminars even we conducted outside colleges. So you all can attend those seminars where we have company people who come and conduct sessions, mock interviews, like demo interviews. So you all can go through that. We are going to have it in your colleges very soon. So probably from the next semester, you all are busy with your exam. So take part actively. If we have a long day session, we can you all can go through a lot of speakers. You all can speak to the experts. Like you all can read the banners there, whatever is written. And you can definitely go ahead and access this website and get a career guidance. You can call us anytime. And if you all have any doubts or any questions, please speak to your staff members and let them know. They can also get back to us and let us know.
So there is a toll-free number given there. And if you visit a website and go to contact us, you will probably find numbers for both of them also. And also there is an Industry Connect. There are a lot of industry events which happen, right? We do a debate contest regularly outside on IT industry practices. Attend those, because most of the times for students we keep it free. We don't charge anything so that they can come to know what is happening in the country.
We have given you these brochures. Please keep it safe. Go through the brochures, how it's going to benefit you all, okay? And access the website on regular basis. We have those seminars, we have the updates on the main page, website